Your prayers aren't being ignored. You just refuse to listen to the answer. This is your chance to hear clearly, but only if you watch to the end. The heavens have not been silent. They've been strategic. You, the one who's been on your knees night after night, wondering if your words have simply vanished into the wind, listen closely now. Because what you call unanswered, heaven calls unreceived. What you label as silence, heaven defines as strategy. There is a holy reason why the answer has not been loud. Because clarity is not always wrapped in thunder. Sometimes it comes in the windless hush of your own surrender. There is a divine tension in the air right now. The veil between the seen and unseen is thin. The Holy Spirit has been whispering behind your worry, waiting for you to stop rehearsing the problem long enough to recognize the answer that's already breathing beside you. Your restlessness is not punishment, it's prophecy. It's the groaning of your spirit pushing you toward the truth you've refused to sit still long enough to hear. Heaven has not been inactive. It's been intentional. Your prayers have never touched the ground. They've hovered above, waiting for your inner ear to tune to the frequency of obedience. The Father has spoken in still moments, through divine delays, through silence that wasn't silence at all, just the echo of your own fears louder than your faith. Michael, the great warring angel, has not been idle. He stands, sword raised, not against a visible enemy, but against the invisible noise that drowns out the voice of your Lord. Every moment you chose distraction over devotion, the answer got delayed, not by God, but by your refusal to pause. To those who've asked, "Why can't I hear God anymore?" this message is your reply. And it's not mild. It's surgical. Because this is the hour where heaven confronts not your volume of prayer, but your posture in prayer. You pray for answers, but talk over instruction. You seek direction, but rush through silence. This message is not for the casual Christian. It is not for the ear-tickled listener. This message is for the one who has reached their emotional end and is ready to trade noise for knowing. The Spirit declares, "I have already answered, but you refuse to recognize my voice." Now is the time to recalibrate your spirit. Because the heavens are no longer whispering. They are waiting. Type "I am anointed" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1122 is now activated. Within the next 24 hours, something will stir in your atmosphere. Not a dramatic sign from the sky, not a thunderclap in the heavens, but a shift so subtle, only the spiritually sensitive will notice. If your ears are open and your heart is still, you will feel it. A weight pressing gently on your spirit, not as fear, but as focus. This is your wake-up call in the Spirit. A divine signal is being released, a signal only discernible by those who are willing to listen, not just hear. The Spirit of God declares, "You asked for clarity, but every time I came close, your fear answered louder than your faith." Yes, you, beloved, the one who's been praying through tears, fasting through confusion, crying out through midnight silence, you are not being ignored. You've simply been distracted. And while you interpreted delay as denial, heaven was realigning every answer to arrive in a form your maturity could sustain. This is not a general message. This is surgical. Precision cut for the soul that has mistaken God's silence as disinterest, when in fact, it was protection. Your unanswered prayers were never abandoned. They were in escrow, waiting for your readiness. This is your moment of accountability. This is your invitation into clarity. Archangel Michael stands at the threshold, sword unsheathed, not to slay demons of flesh and blood, but to sever the cords of confusion wrapped around your spiritual ears. The warfare isn't external. is internal, and the battleground is your perception. Can you discern the answer in what you've been calling a no? Can you trust that peace was God's whisper, not your imagination? Many of you have asked, why does God speak to everyone else but me? But listen, He did speak. He spoke through the missed call that protected you from the wrong connection. He spoke through the closed door that saved you from premature exposure. He spoke through the silence that forced you to look inward instead of outward. Heaven says, you prayed for me to move, but when I spoke through stillness, you rejected it. You were expecting fire from the sky, but I came like a breeze through your thoughts. You wanted a loud sign. I gave you a soft conviction. You wanted a miracle in front of you, but I gave you wisdom within you. That, beloved, is where the real answer lies. The Spirit is not far. The Spirit is near, hovering over your chaos, waiting for your surrender to silence. Every unanswered prayer hath been a redirected pathway, not a rejection. You are not behind. You are not lost. You are not forgotten. You are being trained in the art of divine listening. By sunrise, many of you will feel a press in your spirit. It won't be anxiety. It won't be heaviness. It will be the unmistakable feeling that God is trying to speak again, not because He was ever quiet, but because you are finally still enough to hear. The next move of God in your life is not about louder prayers. It's about deeper stillness. If you can master silence, you will master clarity. And now, this is your moment to receive, not just what you asked for, but what you never knew you needed. For the heavens are opening, not with noise, but with knowing. The question is not if God is speaking. The question is, can you hear Him now? Type I am ready to listen in the comments if this word has pierced your heart. Lesson code 7744 is being released over you now. They said you were being ignored. They whispered behind your back that God must have walked away, that He must have overlooked you, that you must have done something wrong. But they were wrong. They saw silence as absence, but heaven saw it as sacred refinement. What you've been walking through has not been spiritual abandonment. It has been divine concealment. There's a mystery unfolding, and it has disrupted everything familiar. People who once understood you now question you. Friends who once supported you now wonder if you've lost your way. But what they do not realize is that heaven has hidden you on purpose. Yes, there has been whispering, not just in the mouths of others, but in the corridors of your own thoughts. Quiet accusations, doubts draped in logic, and every one of those voices has tried to shake your faith in what God promised. You've questioned if maybe you missed it, maybe you misheard, maybe all your prayers dissolved into nothing. But that internal conflict, that spiritual confusion, it's not weakness, it's war. A divine destruction meant to separate your faith from your feelings. The enemy has not attacked your prayer, he's attacked your perception. If he can convince you that you are unheard, then he can trick you into abandoning your post just moments before the answer arrives. But listen carefully. The silence you're feeling isn't a sign of distance, it's a signal of depth. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. You're not being rejected. You're being redefined. Heaven has hushed you not because it's angry, but because it's preparing you to hear without interference. You sense a restlessness because your spirit already knows the truth, but your flesh is resisting it. You can feel the tension between what your soul accepts and what your circumstances suggest. You are in the space between recognition and revelation, and it's uncomfortable. This is not the season for reaction. It's the season for revelation. You are not called to prove anything right now. You are called to perceive. You are not being called to defend yourself. You are being called to discern. The whispers around you are not just rumors. They are distractions disguised as concern. The enemy is trying to convince you that hiddenness is failure, but hiddenness is holy. You are being hidden so that when the answer comes, it will not be polluted by public opinion. You have not lost your connection to God. He's simply shifted the way He's speaking to you. He's training you to trust in the quiet, to find Him in the subtleties, to recognize His fingerprints in the things that don't make sense. What feels like confusion is actually divine calibration. He's recalibrating your discernment. You will soon begin to interpret stillness as strategy and delay as direction. This is the hour where you must believe beyond what you see and listen beyond what you feel. The Spirit is not moved by noise, it is moved by alignment. And heaven is aligning every echo, every whisper, every unanswered question to lead you into revelation. The moment you stop demanding God speak the way you expect is the moment your ears will finally catch the frequency of His response. Type "I am chosen" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 666 is now surrounding you. And now, if this word has stirred something in your spirit, if it felt like God was talking directly to your heart, then I invite you to take action not just for yourself, but for someone else who needs this clarity. When you support this mission, through super thanks, memberships, or by sowing through the PayPal link in the video description, you become a divine echo of this message into someone else's wilderness. The word says He gives seed to the sower, and your seed becomes someone else's spiritual awakening. I heard the Lord say, as they give, I will open what's been blocked. You're not just donating. You are participating in deliverance. Every gift you release carries light into someone's shadow. Release it in faith, and watch as God multiplies it with favor. Step out now. Don't wait for another confirmation. Heaven is watching for your obedience. Move with it. You've been told it's just life, just timing, just the way things go. But no, this is deeper. This is spiritual. This is not chaos without cause. It is correction with purpose. What you are walking through right now is not an attack without aim. It is heaven sharpening your ears through pressure. The conflict you feel is not punishment. It is precision. It is not about your situation. It's about your sensitivity. The Spirit of the Lord is not trying to make you shout louder. He's trying to make you listen deeper. This conflict is not random. It's revelation in disguise. You asked God for answers, but when He handed you silence, you mistook it for neglect. And in that silence, your thoughts became louder than your spirit. Your emotions outran your discernment. But hear this now. You are not being ignored. You are being trained. Trained to hear beyond the volume. Trained to sense beyond the noise. Trained to feel the wind of the Spirit in the smallest shift, the quietest instruction. Because the next season of your life will not be sustained by miracles alone. It will be sustained by discernment. And discernment is not born in noise. It is birthed in obedience. Every unanswered prayer has not been a rejection, but a filter. God hath been sifting what you asked for through the lens of what you actually need. You wanted clarity. He gave you conflict to push out the idols in your understanding. You wanted resolution. He gave you delay to train your posture in patience. You wanted doors to open. He allowed some to slam shut, not to crush you, but to correct your direction. You must see it now. Heaven has been responding the whole time. But it did not respond to your panic. It responded to your position. And if your spirit was out of alignment, the answer could not take root, because God will not water what you refuse to release. He will not bless what you are not ready to receive. This is not spiritual silence. It is spiritual synchronization. You've asked, why does it feel like nothing is working? Because what you called warfare was often God refusing to let you settle. The discomfort was not demonic, it was divine. The delay was not a dead end, it was divine engineering. You prayed for the future, and God started removing pieces from your present that couldn't carry you there. And it hurt. It confused you. But the Spirit says, I was not destroying your plans. I was protecting your destiny. This is why the conflict feels internal. Because it is. It's your spirit waking up to truth that your mind hasn't fully accepted yet. Heaven had been waiting, not for louder prayers, but for deeper surrender. You cannot pray one way and live another. You cannot ask for clarity and continue to entertain confusion. You cannot cry out for direction while keeping your feet planted in rebellion. God has heard every word, but He's waiting for your yes to outweigh your noise. And here is the secret no one wants to admit. The conflict you are in right now is the answer you've been waiting for. It just didn't come in the package you expected. It came in the form of exposure, of things being stripped, of people walking away, of the path getting narrow. But this is how heaven trains the chosen. He does not always speak in comfort. Sometimes He speaks in collision. You are chosen to hear on a higher frequency. That means your process will not look like everyone else's. Your warfare is not for destruction. It is for development. You are being conditioned for clarity. And that means everything that doesn't belong in your future must come into conflict now. It is not rejection. It is realignment. Can you still be still while heaven shifts everything around you? If you can, clarity will flood you. If you will, peace will anchor you. If you listen, truly listen, the conflict will reveal its purpose. Type I will be still in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 3388 is covering your life now. Within the next 72 hours, something around you is going to shift. And though it may not be loud, it will be loud in the spirit. This next move won't announce itself with thunder or fire. It will come subtly, like the whisper Elijah heard after the earthquake in the wind. You must be spiritually alert now, because the Lord is not sending signs to impress your senses. He's sending discernment to test your obedience. The enemy wants you distracted. Heaven wants you discerning. There is a rising pressure you felt, a spiritual tightness, a restlessness you can't explain. It's not your imagination. That is heaven's way of alerting your spirit that a test of hearing is near. The test will not come dressed in darkness. It will come in conversation. Pay attention. Someone around you will speak, and their words will carry the scent of misalignment. You won't be what they say alone. It will be what your spirit hears beneath the surface. This is not a time to speak quickly. This is a time to listen spiritually. Because God is not just revealing your next step. He's revealing the true energy behind some of the people in your proximity. Some of you will be tempted to react emotionally, to prove a point, to confront what's confusing you. But hear this with urgency: your emotional reaction can delay divine revelation. Do not trade your clarity for a comment. Do not trade your discernment for a defense. Heaven is about to pull back the veil, but only the still-hearted will see clearly. The Spirit says, be slow to speak, quick to hear, and even quicker to obey. You are standing on the edge of something holy. The atmosphere around you is being recoded by your obedience. Every choice you make in the next 3 days must come from stillness, not suspicion. You don't need to analyze everything. You need to discern. Because heaven is about to place a key in your hand, but it will look like a simple instruction. And if you are caught in emotional noise, you will miss the divine doorway. Listen, this is not a moment to be careless with your attention. The enemy cannot stop what God is releasing in your life, so he will try to distract you out of position. He will use petty arguments, subtle offense, unhealed wounds, and familiar spirits to pull you into conversations that cloud your clarity. That's why the pressure feels so personal. That's why your emotions have been on edge. Because you are at the edge of breakthrough, the edge of clarity, the edge of movement. The Holy Spirit warns with tenderness and authority. Be watchful. What feels like a small conversation may be a spiritual checkpoint. Someone will say something that reveals their true alignment, and your response will either anchor you in peace or tangle you in delay. This is the hour where silence is your sword, discernment is your armor, stillness is your strategy. Do not chase what heaven is trying to remove. Do not argue with what God is exposing. Do not try to revive what the Spirit has declared finished. In the next 72 hours, your ability to listen without reacting will determine how quickly your next instruction arrives. This is your moment of alignment. The oil you carry cannot be poured into corrupted connections. There will be no lightning strike, no grand announcement, just a subtle shift, just a moment, just a conversation. And in that moment, heaven will be watching. Can you hear me now? Not through noise, but through nuance. Be slow, be soft, be still, but most of all, be spiritually ready. Type "I will not miss IT" in the comments if you receive this word. Blessing code 2299 is shielding your discernment. Be still, that is your command. Not because inactivity is holy, but because heaven moves most when you do not interfere. The war you are sensing is not one you need to fight with words or worry. The heavens have already dispatched warriors. Angels are in motion, and the battle is not yours. It's the Lord's. But for heaven to fight on your behalf, you must stop trying to control what God is calling you to release. There is a divine instruction echoing through the atmosphere. Withdraw from chaos. Not out of fear, but out of obedience. Chaos is a thief. It robs you of clarity, drains your discernment, and distorts your view of God's direction. Some of you are exhausted, not because the battle is too strong, but because you keep inserting yourself into things God never told you to touch. You're fighting shadows, answering critics, explaining your heart to people who were never assigned to understand it. And in all that noise, you've missed the still whisper of heaven. You've prayed for answers, but the Spirit is urging you now. Pray for awareness. For what good is an answer if you are blind to the atmosphere around you? Some of you are walking through enemy territory with your mouth wide open, sharing revelation with people who carry no oil to protect it. You need to guard your peace like it's prophecy, because it is. That unrest you feel when certain people enter your space is not social awkwardness. It is spiritual discernment. The Holy Spirit has been warning you through unease. You call it discomfort. God calls it direction. This season demands silence. Not because you have nothing to say, but because heaven is saying more. There are moments where silence is not passive, it is prophetic. And right now, your silence is a weapon. Your restraint is your intercession. Your refusal to engage in distraction is your act of war in the spirit realm. Michael, the archangel of war, does not move when you shout in frustration. He moves when you posture yourself in alignment. Heaven is not attracted to noise. It is attracted to obedience. Some of you will be tempted to confront what God told you to avoid. Resist that temptation. Not all fire is meant to be put out. Some fire is meant to burn bridges that no longer lead to your destiny. The Spirit says, write what you sense. Why? Because what I'm speaking in the quiet must be documented for the season ahead. You're not just being spoken to, you're being taught. Heaven is teaching you to chronicle revelation. You will need it. The same voice that whispered in your storm will speak again in your next decision. And the record of this revelation will become your roadmap. Prophetic people do not rely on memory alone. They document what heaven deposits. This is a time to protect your ears and preserve your spirit. Limit access to your space, not from paranoia, but from raw fake protection. Not everyone who asks deserves a response. Not every invitation requires a reply. Heaven is surrounding you with protection, but you must cooperate. Withdraw not to isolate, but to incubate. You are carrying something too holy to be handled casually, and heaven will not release the fullness of the answer until your environment reflects your reverence. So be still. Be quiet. Be invisible if you must. Because visibility is not always favor. Sometimes it's exposure. And the Spirit is hiding you for a reason. Let Him. Type "My stillness is my sword" in the comments if you receive this message. Lesson code 5544 is guarding your atmosphere now. You are not being ignored. You are being refined. Let that truth hit deeper than your emotions, deeper than your circumstances, deeper than the silence that tried to convince you otherwise. You are not abandoned by heaven. You are not forgotten by God. You are not overlooked. You are being upgraded. And the refining fire you feel is not destruction. It's divine construction. What you thought was a spiritual delay was actually the Father forging the next version of you. The version that can carry the weight of the prayers you prayed. You asked for breakthrough, but breakthrough is not for the brittle. Breakthrough is for the bold. And God, in His mercy, has paused the answer until your strength matches your request. You are not the same person who cried those tears 6 months ago. You are not the same soul who knelt in fear and asked God to come quickly. Lo, something inside of you is rising now. Something stronger. Something wiser. Something more surrendered. That is not confusion. That is not exhaustion. That is transformation. You are becoming the answered prayer you once begged for. Let that sink in. You're not just waiting for something to happen. Heaven is waiting for you to become it. You've been shaped in the quiet, refined in the secret place, tempered by stillness. And now, though the world may not yet see it, the Spirit is already celebrating your becoming. The silence was not punishment, it was preparation. The absence of noise was heaven protecting you from moving too soon. Your spiritual ears are being retrained to hear the subtle. You're being calibrated not for the obvious, but for the invisible. And in this shift, obedience becomes your superpower. No longer are you chasing signs. No longer are you demanding proof. Now, you listen, and you move. Now, you feel the wind before it blows. Now, you discern the shift before it becomes visible. This is what it means to operate in empowerment. You are no longer praying from desperation. You are praying from authority. And that shift, though quiet, is everything. You've gone from asking God to show up to recognizing that He already has in you. He has made your life the evidence. Your stillness is strength. Your silence is warfare. Your obedience is the signal that heaven hath been waiting for. God does not speak to the impatient. He speaks to the surrendered. And you, beloved, have chosen surrender over striving, and that surrender has now opened the gateway to access. Access to direction, access to peace, access to divine acceleration. This is the season where your maturity becomes your momentum. You no longer need to beg for clarity because you've been trained to hear in silence. You no longer have to chase validation because you carry revelation. You no longer have to run because what's for you is coming with divine speed. The delay was not denial, it was divine preparation. And now, heaven says, you are ready. Ready to carry the weight. Ready to stew the answer. Ready to speak, not from emotion, but from encounter. Ready to lead, not from wounds, but from wisdom. You have been refined by the fire, and the fire has not consumed you. It has crowned you. You are not forgotten. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are the answered prayer in motion. Type "I am the answered prayer" in the comments if this word confirms what you've been sensing. Lesson code 8844 is now empowering your steps. Heaven is pulling back the curtain now, and what once looked like silence is being revealed as divine speech you were not yet trained to interpret. The Spirit of God declares, this silence was never punishment. It was promotion. What felt like a void was actually a volume you had never tuned your ears to hear. You are now stepping into the realm of the listening ones, those whom God can trust not just with prophecy, but with perception. Those who don't just hear His words, but feel His weight in stillness. You see, not everyone can walk where you've walked. Not everyone can endure what you've endured. This silence didn't break you. It rebuilt you. And now, your ears are sanctified. Your spirit is tuned. You have been initiated into a deeper realm, not through noise, not through outward miracles, but through the holy hush of heaven's discipline. And now, you know what few do, that God often whispers when He's giving weightier wisdom. This is not the moment to question if you're worthy. This is the moment to realize that heaven's silence was an incubator for your spiritual clarity. The Lord didn't turn His face from you. He was facing you the whole time, waiting for your soul to quiet enough to reflect Him back. You were not in a void. You were in a vault. God was hiding you, locking you away while He imprinted His voice into your inner man. You thought you were forgotten, but really, you were being forged. Heaven says, you will now hear me clearly. That doesn't mean every situation will make sense. That doesn't mean every answer will be instant. But your ears will no longer be dulled by distraction. You will feel when the wind shifts in the spirit. You will know when the atmosphere changes in a room. You will recognize when God is speaking through delay, through conflict, through transition, through even the smallest unease. You will no longer need thunder to believe. You will be moved by a whisper. You have been promoted into prophetic precision. You have been authorized to operate in stillness without insecurity. You have been certified in the secret place. And now, you must walk differently. You must respond differently. Because this is not just about hearing God for your life. It's about carrying the clarity that others are desperate for. You will walk into rooms where confusion dominates and bring peace without saying a word. You will sit in silence and download instruction. You will be led by the internal cloud, not the external crowd. And this will confuse many, but it will confirm what heaven already knows. You are no longer the same. The silence that used to torment you now empowers you. The quiet that once felt like punishment now feels like partnership. And the voice of God that once seemed far now lives within the rhythm of your every breath. This is your confirmation. God was not absent. He was activating. Heaven did not ignore you. It was increasing you. And the moment your ears stopped demanding a sound, your spirit began absorbing revelation. You are among the listening ones now. Not those who merely pray, but those who perceive. Not those who just cry, but those who carry clarity. And from this day forward, you will move differently. Because heaven knows your name. And you finally hear his. Type "I hear" clearly now in the comments if you receive this word. Blessing code 9911 is releasing prophetic clarity over your life. If this prophetic revelation has stirred your spirit, I invite you to help carry this message to others who feel like they've been forgotten in the silence. When you sow into this ministry, through super thanks, membership, or through a PayPal offering using the link in the description, you aren't giving to a channel. You are giving into a move of God. The word says, "He who has ears, let him hear," and every seed you release becomes a trumpet of truth in someone's silence. I felt the Spirit say, "For every giver, I will confirm my voice again within 24 hours. Your giving is not just support, it's activation. Let your gift carry what your voice cannot. Let your obedience become someone else's encounter. Now is not the time to hold back. It's the time to release. Declare it aloud now: I am not unheard. I am being trained to hear." This is more than a statement. It is a shift in identity. Because what heaven is unlocking in you is not simply the ability to pray louder. It is the capacity to perceive clearer. You are stepping into a realm where destiny is activated by stillness, not striving. You are crossing over into the territory where spiritual maturity speaks louder than emotional noise. This is the hour where heaven is demanding alignment, and that alignment begins not with your actions, but with your agreement. You must come into agreement with the will of God, not just in word, but in rhythm. You must stop resisting the silence and start respecting the stillness. Your future is not waiting on another sign. It's waiting on your surrender. You've asked for direction, but direction requires decision. Not comfort, not confirmation, but commitment. And that commitment must sound like a yes, not a hesitant one, not a fearful one, but a full yes from the depths of your spirit. Heaven is waiting for your yes, not your worry. Your anxiety does not move God. Your surrender does. Every time you panic, you place your trust in the storm rather than the Savior. But every time you become still, every time you bow low, every time you quiet your soul and choose to trust, something in the heavens shifts. That shift may not appear instantly in your circumstances, but it manifests immediately in the Spirit. Because when your spirit says yes, doors begin to move before your eyes ever see them open. Destiny doesn't wait for clarity, it waits for obedience. And sometimes obedience means taking one step in the dark, trusting that God will light the next one. That step may be small, it may be quiet, it may look like silence to everyone else, but heaven recognizes obedience as volume. And that one quiet act of faith, that one silent yes, makes more noise in the throne room than 1,000 anxious prayers. To take action, even if it's a silent one, even if it's private, even if no one understands it. Do something today that reflects the voice you claim to have heard. Write it down. Sit with it. Walk away from what God has told you to release. Move toward what He told you to embrace. You don't need the whole blueprint to obey the next instruction. Heaven only asks that you move at the sound of the whisper. Alignment requires agreement. You cannot live one way and expect to hear another. You cannot walk in disobedience and pray for discernment. You cannot ask for divine clarity while entertaining carnal distractions. This is not the time for half-hearted commitment. This is the time to come into full covenant with what heaven is trying to build through you. Because the truth is, your obedience is not just about your breakthrough. It is about everyone attached to your voice. You have been trained to hear not only for yourself, but for those around you. And every step you take in alignment becomes a path for someone else. Your yes unlocks their faith. Your obedience creates a ripple effect in the spirit. You are not waiting on heaven anymore. Heaven is waiting on you. On your yes. On your action. On your willingness to let go of your own way and step fully into the divine way. This is your hour of activation. Not emotional hype, but spiritual clarity. And in this clarity, you will know, without a doubt, the next step to take. Declare it again. I am not unheard. I am being trained to hear. And now, let your life say yes. Type "My destiny is activated" in the comments if this word has pierced your spirit. Blessing code 7733 is now releasing direction into your next step. There is a transaction taking place in the spirit realm, not one marked by noise, not one marked by emotion, but one initiated by your silence. You thought you were praying into a void, but you were standing in the middle of a divine exchange. Every time you sat in stillness instead of panic, every time you chose worship instead of worry, every time you let the tears fall without demanding an immediate response, heaven took record of it. What you called silence, God called seed. And now, the harvest is coming, not with thunder, but with clarity. As you rest tonight, understand this: heaven has already continued the conversation you started in prayer. What felt like a one-sided cry was actually a divine dialogue. The angels were dispatched not at your scream, but at your surrender. The Spirit has been moving, not because you begged, but because you trusted. God responds to faith, not noise. And the faith you released in silence has now triggered movement in the realm you cannot see. While you sleep, heaven will finish what your words began. Your obedience has unlocked a chain of divine decisions that are now unfolding behind the veil. You don't have to understand how. You just need to rest in the knowing that it is happening. That thing you've been anxious about, it is already being rerouted. That relationship you've been confused over, heaven has already assigned clarity to it. That opportunity you thought was lost, the Spirit has retrieved it. And if it's still aligned with your assignment, it's on its way back. Because here's the truth: the enemy never wanted you to realize. What was stolen through confusion is being returned through clarity. What was delayed through doubt is now being released through divine precision. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are simply in the middle of an invisible movement, a sacred negotiation where your spirit has spoken louder than your voice. This is the silent exchange, where tears are translated into testimony, where delay becomes direction, where what you thought was unanswered prayer becomes a river of revelation. Your stillness has summoned the strategy of heaven. And now, God is assigning angels to reestablish what the enemy tried to scramble. Your name is on scrolls being reviewed. Your future is not being written, it is being revealed. You feel restless because your spirit has already sensed the transfer. Before your eyes ever see it, your inner man has already received the alert. That's why the silence has felt so weighty, not because God was absent, but because heaven was conducting a silent exchange, returning what was withheld, healing what was wounded, realigning what was off track. You are not in delay, you are in divine timing. Now more than ever, you must trust the quiet, because the loudest answers come in the smallest shifts. As you lay your head down, do not rehearse the pain. Do not rehearse the past. Rehearse the promise. Your rest is no longer just physical, it is prophetic. It is the final signal that you trust heaven to finish what you started. You are not isolated. You are invited. Invited into the chambers where heaven makes its decrees. You are not abandoned. You are being aligned. And the most powerful exchanges often take place without a sound. This is one of those moments. So rest tonight. Heaven is speaking. Even when you sleep, your spirit hears. And the next time you wake, you will wake with clarity. Type "I receive the exchange" in the comments if this word confirmed what your spirit already sensed. Blessing code 3003 is now covering your rest and rebuilding your realm. They called it unanswered. I looked at your silence and assumed it meant defeat. They saw your withdrawal and whispered that you had lost your way. But what they didn't see, what they couldn't discern, was that heaven was orchestrating a divine reversal. What they labeled as the end, God marked as the beginning. What they thought was a loss, heaven wrote down as a setup. And now, the Spirit of the Lord declares, what they mocked in silence, I will manifest in glory. There is justice moving in the Spirit. Not the justice of man, but the justice of the Most High. This is not revenge. This is righteous reversal. The time of misinterpretation is over. The season of being misunderstood, mislabeled, misjudged, it is ending. Because the Lord is not just restoring your name, He is revealing your assignment. You will no longer be seen through the lens of your struggle. You will now be recognized through the weight of your wisdom. Heaven is reversing every delay, every decision that seemed to fall through, every door that shut too soon, every prayer that you assumed was ignored. Those things are being revisited now. Not because God changed His mind, but because your growth has caught up to your promise. You are ready in a way you weren't before. And the justice of heaven is not just to bless you, it is to redeem every moment that tried to break you. You were not delayed because you were disqualified. You were delayed because God refused to let you receive prematurely what required maturity. And now, the scales are tipping. What they thought you lost, you are about to carry multiplied. What they assumed had passed you by is circling back with greater power and protection. The Lord says, the same ones who questioned your silence will witness your sudden breakthrough. And this time, you won't need to announce it. The reversal will speak for itself. There is a shift in your favor, and it will be undeniable. The opportunities that slipped through your fingers will now be handed to you with clarity and confidence. The rooms you were shut out of will now send for you, not because of who you are, but because of who refined you. Every tear, every silent night, every misunderstood moment had been stored like oil in the courts of heaven. And now that oil is being poured. You are not being elevated because you demanded it. You are being elevated because you endured in silence. You listened when no one applauded. You stayed when everyone else ran. You trusted when it made no sense. And that kind of faith does not go unnoticed by the King of Glory. God's justice is not loud, but it is final. And when He says reversal, He means total reordering. This includes relationships, opportunities, influence, positioning, and discernment. The honor that was withheld is being restored. The clarity that was clouded is being sharpened. The voice you thought you lost is being returned, not as noise, but as authority. You are about to see the fruit of hidden faithfulness. Heaven's justice doesn't look like man's. It comes with no explanation, only evidence. And the evidence will be so clear, those who doubt it will have no words, only wonder. This is not just your comeback. This is your commissioning. The silence that covered you is lifting, and what is emerging is the sound of justice fulfilled. Type "Heaven is my justice" in the comments if this word confirms what you already feel rising. Blessing code 6161 is restoring everything the silence was hiding. You are not unheard. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned in the silence. You are chosen for deeper dialogue. And in this hour, heaven bears witness to your surrender, your endurance, and your willingness to sit in the quiet when your soul was aching for a sound. The Most High speaks now through the stillness, not to give you something, but to reveal who you become. You are not the same as you were when the silence began. You are no longer the one who begged for answers. You are the one who recognizes God's hand in the absence of noise. You are no longer the one who doubted when the door did open. You are the one who now waits with discernment, not desperation. You are no longer just praying. You are partnering. And the heavens honor that. The Spirit of the Lord declares, I have heard you. I have shaped you. I have spoken over you in the quiet. And now, heaven watches for your response. This isn't about volume anymore. This is about vibration, your spirit resonating with divine instruction. You are now marked, sealed, and sent into a season of clarity, not confusion. Peace, not panic. Wisdom, not worry. From this day forward, may clarity crown your thoughts. May peace protect your hearing. May discernment rise before distraction. You are sealed in divine awareness now. The frequency you walk in will confuse those who expect you to perform, but heaven will recognize it instantly, because the one who listens walks in alignment, and the one in alignment walks in authority. You are not leaving this message the same. Something eternal hath been unlocked in you. Something holy has been handed to you. A new posture, a new perception, a new power, not because you fought louder, but because you learned to listen deeper. You are no longer the one who prays without hearing. You are the one who listens and moves with wisdom. You are sealed. You are seen. You are sent. Now rise. Type I hear and I obey in the comments if this word has sealed your spirit. Blessing code 4400 is marking your next chapter with divine clarity. And if this final word has confirmed what your spirit has carried in silence, I ask you now to take a prophetic step. Support the spreading of this message, not for me, but for the souls still searching in silence. When you give through super thanks, become a channel member, or so through the PayPal link in the description, you partner with heaven's assignment. You help turn whispers into wake-up calls. You help someone else hear God through the dark. The Lord says, as they give, I will multiply their discernment and release the answers they thought were denied. This is not just generosity. This is activation. Let your giving echo in the lives of those waiting to hear, and heaven will echo it back over you. Release your gift. Release the sound. Let clarity multiply.